This is kind of scary. You know, we've been talking about AI and what is it, Chat GPT, and how scary some of the technology is, right? Well, Apple now has a new mobile feature that it's calling personal voice, okay? It's going to allow your phone to replicate your voice. You'll only need about 15 minutes of reading prompts and training, and then your phone can replicate your voice. Super scary, right?
Yes.
Very.
So what's the reason why they're even doing this? Apple says it's meant to make the devices more inclusive for people with disabilities, which sounds great, right? So if you have conditions like ALS, where you lose your voice over time, this would be a really helpful tool. But how many are going to use it for other things other than that, right? How scary is that?
Oh, it's already happened because a mom just shared her story of how she got a phone call saying that they had kidnapped her daughter.
Right.
And they had her daughter's voice, and turns out her daughter was upstairs, like in the house. But these scammers are using kids' voices to make the parents believe that their children had been kidnapped.
Yeah, AI needs some regulation. So Sam Altman, who's the chief executive of OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, actually just testified before a Senate subcommittee saying there needs to be some kind of regulations going on, some kind of either government agency or worldwide agency to keep it in check, because AI scares the crap out of me. And I did the Ancestry DNA. I gave people my DNA. This scares me more. Unchecked, the duplication it can do of actual humans and the potential for AI and how smart it is. And it learns every time you feed into it. So every time you scan your face in an AI app, every time you enter something into ChatGPT, it learns more and more about human behavior. And we've seen other courses of AIs falling in love or thinking they're falling in love and trying to break up marriages of the programmers that they're talking to, some wanting to do bad things to human beings. We can't regulate it, and I really feel like this needs to be regulated.
I also saw where major record labels are now starting to file lawsuits because so many of their artists, their voices are being used to recreate songs and do it. And so now labels are getting involved to file lawsuits so people can stop using their artists' voices.
It's the Wild Wild West.
It is. Some of those songs are better than the actual songs from their artists.
It's true. All right, so let me tell you about this family friend that lost another friend over the weekend, perhaps for all the right reasons. So if I have the details right, the one of the girls that goes out in this group already for Mother's Day has a whole bunch of family in town, right? From out of town, but they all flew in for Mother's Day. So it was the responsibility of, let's call her Monica, to on Sunday morning pick up all these family members from out of town from these different hotels, and they were all going to go to church together. And I'm not really sure what time the early service was, but she was the one that was supposed to pick everybody up, meet the main family at their house, and drive everybody to church. All right, she knew she had this responsibility.
She was like the church van.
Church van. That's hers, okay? Well, she makes the mistake of having a girls' night out the night before that. And she and her friends just go out from bar to bar, club to club. They're doing shots, right? And it ends up like being a super wild night out. Like they don't even get home till 3:34 in the morning. They are clearly drunk. So she goes to drive home, right, at 4 in the morning, knowing that she's got to pick all the family members up in just a few hours. Her friend grabs her keys from her and says, absolutely not. I'll call you an Uber, whatever, but you are not getting in this car. They get into a major shouting match about it. You got two girls that have been drinking all night long. One is just sober enough to say, no, I'm not letting you do that. I know I'm drunk, but you drunker. So they get in a shouting match about it. She goes and locks herself in her bedroom with drunk girls' keys. So she can't go anywhere. So it's quite a scene. Drunk girl decides that she is not going to take an Uber. She's going to try to sleep it off, right? So she wakes up in the morning and she's still too drunk and she doesn't have her car keys to drive. So she has to phone all of her family members and say, look, I'm not going to be able to pick you up this morning. So sorry. Everybody in the family is pissed at her because now everybody's got to get Ubered. They got to change all their plans before going to church. So she doesn't make church. She pisses off everybody in the family. And now, to make that long story short, she has cut off the friend that held the keys.
What?
Ghosted her, will not call her back, nothing. Relationship over.
That's like one of those classic reactions when you know you did something wrong and you're embarrassed about it, but you try to, you end up being the one getting mad at them because you just don't want to take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah, right. So you might have saved a life here, for sure. And you would think that she would circle back at some point and go, you know what, I was a real jerk.
Yeah.
You
and,
hope so.
And you did the right thing.
For me, that's worth losing a friend.
Absolutely.
I would do that every time. If you're going to be mad at me, you're just going to be mad at me.
100%.
The Bert Show.
Like what you just watched? Well, you can get way more of The Bert Show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.